That's it.
I'm gonna continue on, right?
Huh?
Is it okay? I'm gonna continue on with another
Sure,
song.
go ahead, yeah.
And then we're gonna go talk.
You don't have to cry. A lot of people forget Rod was king of the world for a couple years.
Sorry?
There's people forget Rod was king of the world for a couple years.
Yeah. I don't like it nowadays.
No use for him now, but I mean, like, my dad asked me about 20 years ago, he said, you ever see this Englishman that sings? I said, what Englishman? He said, one with the crazy hair.
Yeah.
I said, Rod Stewart? He said, yeah, he's doing all these American songs now. Have you ever hear him? I said, yeah, I've been listening to like 1967, Pop. Played with Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, he was all right. Rod's great, Pop. You know, but he don't want to be a rock and roll. You can ask anyone. He wanted to be Al Jolson.
Yeah.
Rod wanted to be an entertainer, that he just could sing rings around anybody else. Didn't have anything to do with it. You know, I mean, he wanted to be Al Jolson. He wanted to be a big entertainer. You know, and if anybody
well,
said to me,
he succeeded in
yeah, that's what he became. What he wanted to be.
Yeah.
You know, but
I don't like everything, but
no, I don't either. But up to this and every picture tells a story, and the stuff with the faces, it's like, okay,
faces,
I don't care what else you do the rest of your life. That's what I needed when I needed it, and there it was. And I mean, he's just brilliant, you know. And like I said, if it was like, okay, Bill, you can sing like anybody you want. Okay, well, I'll rule out David Crosby because nobody could ever sing like David Crosby. But if I could sing like Rodgers, I would be happy. Rodgers about 1971.
But
then I wouldn't be
Bill,
this is fun.
I hope you are.
Well, that's one of those things. Like, what kind of car would you want?
must sound like Bill.
No,
you mustn't sound like anybody else.
See, that's like all these songs.
But you sound like Bill.
Well, yeah, but see, like I write these songs, and I think, like I said, there's one I've got, which I want to put on a CD called "Songs I Wish Rod Stewart Would Have Sung," because God knows I could use the cash. And so when I write songs, sometimes I hear other people, and it helps facilitate the songwriting. But it's always me.
Okay,
you know?
yeah, fine.
You know, it's like I said. Well, that's like when you played "Never Been So Happy to Be Wrong," and I said, yeah, well, that's me still trying to be Stephen Stills. You know, it's
no,
always
that's cool.
there.
That's cool. But I'm glad you still sound like Bill.
Yeah, me too.
Right? If I say I want to sound like Jeff Porcaro, the drummer, right? Jeff Porcaro, a hero of mine. Well, I don't want to sound like Jeff Porcaro. I want to sound like myself.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, it's like Yolanda and I were talking about recording, and when I used to have people play with me, it's like I give them an idea of a feel that I'm looking for, but I don't tell them how to play. You know, because if I could tell them how to play, I'd do it myself. You know, and if I want you to come in here and play like Skunk Baxter, well, why should I have you try to be Skunk Baxter? Why don't I just go get him and have the real thing? Because I'd be broke. But I mean, if you want it, you know, like I said, if you want, that's something you have to get past. It's just like, I'm going to buy a Les Paul. Why? Well, because Eric Clapton plays one. I learned the hard way. Doesn't turn me into Eric Clapton, you know. But that's the thing you get caught with, you know. And if I dress like this and act like this, I'll be like them. No, man, that's not how it works, you know. But now listen to that. See, you know.
Cool, right?
Yeah.
Hey.
Sorry.
No.
Continue.
But I want to ask you,
Yeah.
You Don't Have to Cry from Crosby, Stills and Nash and Gasoline Alley from Rod Stewart. These are also your choices. You want to give that to the listener.
Yeah.
Why? Start with You Don't Have to Cry from Crosby, Stills and Nash.
When that album came out, I was 15, and I was a kid bass player at the time, and so I was learning to play what was then called progressive blues, which is like the Jeff Beck group. They were just taking the old blues tunes and rocking them up a bit, and I was doing that and pop songs, and and soul, and I don't mean Motown because I didn't like Motown, but like Stax Records in Atlantic,
Oh,
you know.
Stax,
So you learn,
yeah.
so you play like that. And then I've read about this because I used to read whatever I could, and saw that these three guys were getting together, and I was familiar with Buffalo Springfield, and David Crosby was a hero from the Byrds, and you know Graham Nash was like, well, I don't need the Hollies much, but you know that's okay. And that album came out, and the moment from the opening notes of Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, you know, I needed to get an acoustic guitar, you know, because I needed to be a songwriter, even more than I'd wanted to be before, and that it was going to be through acoustic music. It was how I was going to have to do it. And so there was that. And then, because I was still kind of a kid bass player, and even when I switched to guitar, I was heavily influenced by the second wave of English rock and rollers. And so I knew that there's a certain amount of irony here in that I knew of Rod Stewart from the Jeff Beck group, and I didn't like him. I said, I don't like this singer. But then when he and Ronnie Wood signed up with the Faces, it was this whole new chemistry that wasn't there before. And it was like, wow, this is a world-killing band. And a friend of a friend had Rod's first solo album, and then she also got Gasoline Alley the day before we went over to pay her a visit. And she said, oh, I got this new one, put it on. You know, I'm thinking, yeah, Rod Stewart. And put it on, and I heard that, and that's a whole new dimension of acoustic music. Because it comes from an English folk tradition, which is very different than the American. So it was like, okay, another little door opened up. You know, it was another little education. It's like, okay, great, I'll take that. And, you know, and I just went on from there. But it was, again, it was one of those things like you don't have to have a real suite. You don't have to be David Crosby, who's singing I've loved since I was 10 years old. Mm-hmm. You can sing like Rodders used to in those days and do this, and it can be great.
What still amazes me, right? I hope you understand me. The Beatles listened to the American writers.
Yeah, it's because we weren't.
Yeah, but the Rolling Stones listened to the Americans.
Yeah.
Rod Stewart even listened to the Americans. But now the Americans are
still they had to bring it back to us. I mean, when I heard the first two Beatle albums, you know, and like the first one, you know, and they came out and George is playing Roll Over Beethoven. I thought it was a Beatles song. See, they brought all those things back to us. Long Tall Sally, I thought it was a Beatles song. I didn't know who Little Richard was. I didn't know who Chuck Berry was. Yeah. So we needed them because we forgot about it. We threw it all out the window and we're listening to the girl groups and these real sappy little white boy singers and stuff like this. And Rod Stewart and the Stones, they came back and got the stuff that we turned our back on, you know, and pulled all that out, and then they gave it back to us. Yeah. I mean, there was an interview with Keith Richards, a friend of mine, Stanley Booth, did, and they had some people. It was a 1969 tour, and they had some guys from the local underground newspaper, you know, in the city, and they had an interview with Keith Richards, and they were listening to King of the Delta Blues Singers, the Robert Johnson album, and I forget which one it was, but anyway, they were listening to his track, and the guy's going, oh, is this a record that's available? And they're like, look, what do you mean, is it available? This guy's from here. Why don't you know that? You know, why, when the Rolling Stones went to Chess Records to record there, they got there and Muddy Waters was painting the place.
Yeah.
You know, and helping them with their gear. And like I said, we needed them to come back and show us what rock and roll was supposed to be, and to bring the blues back to us, and all that music. And then, so you have that, and then you have guys like Stephen Stills, who was steeped in acoustic blues as well, and then his folk things, and you know, combining. And I have always said I've been very fortunate. I was born in the right place at the right time for all this stuff. 2 years later, 2 years earlier, I would have missed it. It wouldn't have been there. But I was right there. And it's like somebody opened up the top of my head and said, here it is, man.
Hey.
Pay attention. It's like, yeah, I'm ready. I got nothing else going on.
That makes the musician you are now, right?
Yeah.
You are now the musician because of that.
Yeah, because all of them. Them and the people who have supported me in this thing of saying, no, I don't really think I want to, get that kind of job. I want to like be a musician.
Is it working? That's also a question. Can you pay your rent? Can you pay
No,
your
no,
food?
no, not at all. I took an early retirement last year because I was 62, and I looked at the numbers. Said,
No, hold on.
Yeah.
You are 62.
I'm going to be 63 next week.
What?
Yeah, I know I look great, don't I?
Yeah. No, I mean it. I am flabbergasted.
Yeah, so much for the warnings about misspent youth. It's not true at all. So, but no, and so I looked at it because anytime I worked, it was just a job. I never looked at it as a career.
No.
Everything was what I did until I could do this.
What you wanted to
And
do.
and I look at it now in December. It's going to be 50 years since I joined my first band. So it took a long time. It took until 5 years ago. But I'm here now. And that's what matters. And so when I had the chance to do this early retirement, I just looked at it, and I don't live an extravagant lifestyle. My little dog Boogie makes demands once in a while, but he's okay. And so I said, okay, there it is. So it's time to get out and finally chase it down. And instead of having to try to cram in music and songwriting into a couple hours on a weekend, or coming here when I could get a vacation from work, it's like,
Yeah, but life is not materialism, right?
yeah, exactly.
Life is about having a guitar.
I'm doing what I want to do.
Yeah, you can sing your songs.
Yeah, so
That's the only thing that matters.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's it. So I'm doing what I, as far as I see, at the risk of sounding too utterly cosmic, I'm doing what I see I was born to do, because everything's pointed me in this direction.
Great.
So, yeah.
Do we have a song about that?
Oh no. But I'm sure we could find some kind of song.